Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I am doing a review on Thor, The Dark World, Thor 2. I was able to see it today, premiere weekend. It was Sunday, but I was able to see it with my dad, which was cool, and let's talk about this movie. So yes, there will be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't had a chance to watch the movie, you might want to watch it after, or you might just not care about spoilers. I'll try to obviously not talk about all the details of the movie, but just some of my favorite parts, or least favorite parts. But let's talk about the story. We get to see kind of aftermath of Avengers. All these solo movies are going to be at least mentioning Avengers in some way, so we do get to see a little aftermath. Especially with Loki. I think that's the biggest aftermath, and him pretty much being in prison for half the movie. But we'll see a lot of him in this movie because Jane was snooping where she shouldn't have been snooping, and ends up having this energy, the ether, she finds, and our main villain wants the ether to turn all 9 realms into darkness, Thor, the Dark World, and so we get to see Jane actually can't hold the ether because she will die if she does. So everyone in Asgard is trying to protect Jane and everything. She doesn't usually use the ether that much, but if people touch her, the ether kind of explodes to protect itself. So when you heard that Jane was going to have powers, she doesn't really have that many powers in this movie. But yeah, the whole movie's really Thor trying to protect the world and try and protect Jane, and if that's possible. And Odin actually, hey Thor, you're gonna be king one day, try and push him that way also. So here are some major plot points to happen in the movie, is that Loki dies. But in the end, he actually doesn't die, and he becomes king, because he tricks Thor in saying, yes, I understand you don't want to be king. And then he's just like, I'm king now. So even though we saw the nicer side of him, showing the brotherly side of him in this movie, he still screws Thor in the back, and now he's officially king. Don't know where Odin is throughout this whole thing, but he is king. And then Jane, she's kind of left in the dust by the end, saying, I'm waiting for Thor. It's been 2 days now. But I think Thor will come back because he goes to Odin and say, I do want to go with Jane and be on Earth. And I think that's going to play out with other Marvel movies and Avengers. So overall, I thought this was a really, really fun movie. I do want to state that I'm not a big Thor fan. Love Chris Hemsworth, but I'm not a big Thor fan. Comic-wise, I'm really not a big Thor fan. I've never really liked the Norse gods. I'm not really into, Greek mythology, Norse mythology, besides, Beowulf or something. That's the only thing I've read Norse mythology-wise. And of course I've read Thor here and there, but honestly not a big Thor fan. I had a lot of fun with this. I loved Loki here. I think he was great in this movie, especially because you really don't know exactly if he's an anti-hero or not. You don't know if you want to trust him. Same as Thor, you really don't know if you want to trust Loki. And I think that's probably the most interesting thing, because he really can't trust Loki. And I love the line of the comedic line is like, all right, I'll kill you if you backstab Thor. And there's actually 3 people who said that, including Sif. I don't remember the other guy's name, but one of Thor's friends, and Thor. So that just shows how much you can't trust Loki, but you want to trust Loki. And when he dies, it's like, Thor's like, hey, I forgive you. But now Loki still backstabs Thor. So again, Loki was great here. I love the comedic relief here because in Iron Man 3, which I guess was the latest Marvel movie, it was too much comedic relief. And I remember when I saw it really was too much of that, pushing that comedic relief. And I thought Thor did the Marvel way, where it's comedy, but it's also an action movie. It did its Marvel humor in the right way, where they spread it out a little. They sprinkled it, which I really like about Marvel movies. And I love, especially when Thor had to be intertwined in the Earth world and regular routine, like when he had to go on the subway, and the woman's like, yeah, the 3 stops is Greenwatch. Yeah, whatever it was. And I thought that was hilarious. And when he hooks his hammer onto a coat rack. So those moments were really good in this movie. Those comedic moments. So let's talk about effects, I would say. The effects are actually what I was most impressed with this movie. There's a scene where someone does die. I won't say who. It wasn't Loki, but someone else does die. And they have this beautiful funeral scene. And is perfect for Norse religion and Viking, Norse, I guess, whatever, Norse culture and Viking culture, because that's exactly how you have a funeral. You put them on a boat, they go in the water, but they just did it extra Thor-like and extra God-like, and I really enjoyed that. It was beautiful. That was probably the best scene throughout the movie for me, at least, for effects-wise. And then compared to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, is a television show, but you know that's going to be affected by Thor also, which is kind of interesting. And hopefully they don't use the ether every episode, but I think it'll be an interesting aftermath, because the movie doesn't end on, like, oh, everyone's happy and we kind of know where it's going. It ends on a note where you're like, oh, Loki's king? Okay, so how did this happen? Where you kind of know how it happened, and how he survived if you really look into it. When the soldier gets up and he talks to Odin, it's pretty certain that is Loki. So you know how it happens, but how will this affect Asgard? And will Thor stay on Asgard, or will he go to Earth and stay with Jane? And how will that happen? And I think that's a really interesting point that it doesn't end on. You know, there are questions you have when you end the movie and you're like, oh, now we can actually talk about this. It wasn't a clear-cut ending like Iron Man 3. So I thought that was kind of interesting, that they didn't wrap up everything so quickly. And hopefully they wrap up in other movies, either Avengers or Avengers 2 in years from now, or Captain America, or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., whatever they're gonna wrap this up in. I'm excited to see what they do. And I was really impressed by this because I didn't love the Thor movie, the first Thor movie. I was a little bored, and there was no time in this movie where I was actually bored. I think they spread out the action, the character development really well in this movie. So I like the moments where they did that, and I think it is more of an interesting movie for the second one, and I enjoyed myself more for the second one. Still can't really grab my hand on that, on the Rainbow Bridge. I still don't like how it looks. I want it to actually look like a rainbow. That's only one little problem I have with the first Thor movie, and I still have for the second Thor movie. But what were the bads of this? You know, one thing I kind of disliked here was probably Jane getting the ether and not really doing anything with it. I feel like what Marvel's been doing lately with Iron Man 3, we had Pepper Potts had this power, she kind of saved the day, and then she's like, oh, well, she didn't have the power anymore, and she's just the damsel in distress again. And I felt with Jane, did you need it? Yeah, because you kind of needed to connect Earth and Asgard in this movie, but didn't really develop Jane's character at all with the power. It made her learn about Asgard, but in the end, she ended up in the same place she was in the beginning, waiting for Thor. So for her character, I felt that was a little weak for her, and I kind of wanted to see more of her develop in this movie, and you really didn't see that, which is kind of a shame, because I feel like Jane, even in the comics, is really not a developed character. Even as a comic book fan, you really don't hear her name come up that often. So I wish she was developed a little bit more here. And even Sif, I felt like they just kind of used her as a name and didn't really use her that much, which is a shame. You didn't really see that love triangle, which I'm kind of happy that we didn't do a love triangle in this movie. But I wanted to see Sif a little bit more prominent in this movie, which we didn't really get to see that much. But overall, I really like the development, I think, of Loki the most, because he's the character that really did develop the most. And I guess Thor developed a little here too. But the female leads, I guess, really didn't develop and didn't really shine that much in this movie, except Thor's mother, which actually did a really great job here. So overall, again, I just had a lot of fun. You know, will I say it's the best Marvel movie? No. Could it be a forgettable Marvel movie? Maybe. But honestly, I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed it, and I give it 4 stars. For a Thor movie, I had a lot of fun with this one. So definitely, I think either catch it on demand or try to get it, watch it on the movies, in the movies. I definitely recommend the movie to you guys. You don't have to watch Thor, you don't have to see Avengers. I think this is a new watcher-friendly movie. So definitely, again, and especially the effects, I was really impressed by. And one thing I want to close out on was actually the ending credit scene, which is people still leave before the ending credit. You guys have to know, for Marvel movies, there's always going to be an ending credit scene. And I was like, I'm always so shocked. I'm like, do they know? But yeah, actually the ending credit is Sif and one of the other Asgardians. They go to the Collector, and they're like, we have this. And it's one of the Infinity Gems. So The Infinity Gems are becoming prominent in the Marvel Universe, which kind of connects more to the Avengers ending credit with Thanos, because that's what the Infinity Gems and the Infinity Gauntlet are connected to. So I'm sure we'll see that more connected as we get closer to Avengers. But I liked the ending credit. I wasn't overwhelmed by it because I'm not a big fan of the Infinity Gems, but and I think a lot of people in theater are just like, okay, let's go. I think a lot of people are confused by it, and if you're not a comic book fan, you might not actually know what the Infinity Gems are, so I felt like that was a little bit too comic booky referencey. Maybe they should have another character show up. I don't know. That was just my opinion. I wasn't overwhelmed by the credit, but it was better than the Iron Man 3 credit. But it also connects more probably to Avengers and upcoming movies. So in my opinion, it's cool to have something so big like the Infinity Gems come into movies. But still a little underwhelmed with that also. But tell me what you guys thought about Thor. Did you enjoy it? This Comic Uno. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will have movie reviews anytime I see it during the weekend premiere. I'm planning on seeing Hunger Games the weekend it does release, and Frozen, so hopefully I have reviews for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Random Situations, and don't forget to like my Facebook page, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.